On today's show,
Brian Shaw has been fired, but is the Nuggets' miserable season really his fault?
hot off a last-second victory, we argue whether the Nets will make the playoffs in Crossfire.
And in the up-down report, Doc Rivers thinks DeAndre Jordan is the Defensive Player of the Year. Is he right?
It's Tuesday, March 3rd. The starter starts now.
Good day, sweet world, and welcome to the starters. Whether you're joining us live online, listening to the podcast, or catching us on NBA TV, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, but in puppet form today, it's Tass Mellis.
How do you do?
To my right, starters blog editor Trey Kirby.
Heyo!
Heyo! And the international man of mystery, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lee, yeah, if you're joining us here on the starters for the first time and wondering what in the world is going on,
I always look like this.
Tass lost February's pick and payoff battle for the third month in a row. He has to do the entire show, co-hosting the show as a puppet.
Did I lose or did I win?
Yeah, we're the ones that definitely lost. So let's see how long he can keep this up. We got Crossfire on tonight's show. We got the up-down report, but we also have some news. Today, the Denver Nuggets announced that they have relieved Brian Shaw of his head coaching duties. I love when they word it that way.
Just take a break. We're letting you go. It's okay.
My arm could use some relief.
He's been canned. He's been fired. The Nuggets have lost 6 consecutive games. They're in the midst of a 2-19 stretch. Melvin Hunt has been named the interim head coach for the remainder of the season. Can't say we're all that surprised by this news. You agree with that, Puppet Tass?
It's a players' league. If you're not working it on offense, you're not working it on defense, your locker room is a mess, your players aren't responding, you're getting nothing out of your stars, especially a guy you signed for $5 and $60 with Kenneth Faried, Ty Lawson's not playing for you, you gotta go.
Well, you're giving me a headache there.
Yeah,
buddy.
why put your arm down too? You're making me nervous. Do you agree? I mean, this is not a surprise.
Yeah, it's just a surprise in the timing, really. We thought this could have happened earlier. But, often when a coach gets fired, the talk is they lost the locker room. But I don't know if Brian Shaw ever really had it, even going back to last season. I mean, he was fighting with Kenneth Faried and Ty Lawson last season.
Oh, there was the whole Andre Miller scenario?
The whole Andre Miller, and it never really improved. And this could actually affect his job prospect going forward, because he really didn't do much in that season and a half. We thought he was a great prospect before he took that job. He had a pretty good roster there, pretty good situation. I know that he took over when there was some change. They lost Andre Iguodala and stuff. But it really was a very underwhelming year and a half.
I know what you're saying, but then again, this is the NBA.
Right.
And you always get a second, third, fourth, fifth chance to be a head coach in this league.
And Brian Shaw came in. He is definitely a slow-it-down coach from the Phil Jackson triangle school, kind of, and he just wasn't a right fit for this roster from the beginning. He kind of tried to make Faried into a post-up guy last year, which didn't work, and just never really was able to find the right sort of scenario for these players, and that's kind of a problem if you try and fit the players into your system rather than the other way around.
100%. Tass said it is a players' league, and you get those players, you have to make your system work for them, and don't try to get those guys to squeeze into your way, because that is the old style of coaching.
I'm not sure that you always get a second chance, though. Right?
Not always, but I mean...
I want to talk like this again. Mark Jackson would argue with that. I mean, he hasn't got a second opportunity.
Well, not yet.
will.
I'm saying eventually he's going to.
Yeah.
And so is Brian Shaw. He's going to get another go at this, for sure, because I do think the fit didn't make a lot of sense.
You need a little
You're
help.
right there. Get your arm up. There. You're
Dangle
fine.
arm.
So again, you know what's funny though? I mean, I saw people on Twitter say this. The last couple of teams to let go, and it's funny you bring up Mark Jackson, Tass, to let go of a 50-win head coach. You had the Grizzlies doing it with Hollins.
Yeah.
You had the Clippers doing it with Vinny Del Negro. You, of course, had the Nuggets doing it with George Karl. You even had Mark Jackson and the Warriors. 3 of those 4 teams, it's working
Doing
out
pretty
pretty
well.
well.
Yeah.
The Nuggets, of course, with Shaw coming in after Karl and Masai Ujiri, the executive there, moved on. They are the one exception to that weird rule.
Definitely the one exception, because that 2013 Nuggets team, not only were they fun to watch, they were also really, really good. It's just very strange to see them fall off so hard after that.
Absolutely.
I wonder who this job will be attractive to, because it's not a bad roster still. You've still got some good young players. You've got some draft picks coming along. But the front office relationship seems to be a little bit, they mingle a little bit too much. And the front office, we know as well, they're paying out $2 million for Brian Shaw at least next season. They only just finished paying George Karl. We know that they're an organisation that doesn't necessarily like to pay for coaches who aren't playing. So you wonder if that will figure into who they try to get next season.
One name already being thrown around, Mike D'Antoni.
Oh, he's back.
Mike D'Antoni, well, actually coached the Nuggets back in '99 there in the lockout season.
I mean, why not? He likes that fast-paced style that suits their game.
Yeah, that's very possible. All right, let's move on. Lots to talk about here tonight. As we learned yesterday, we threw it in at the end of the show. Jimmy Butler expected to miss 3 to 6 weeks with a sprained left elbow. That is the latest setback for the injury-plagued Bulls. He suffered the injury colliding with DeAndre Jordan there on Sunday. He did not return. Now, the good news, he's not going to have surgery. But again, 3 to 6 weeks here. You pair that with the Derrick Rose news. He's 4 to 6 weeks with the knee injury. Taj Gibson is still in a walking boot because if he tweaked an ankle there on Friday, this team, once again, the Chicago Bulls, all of these injuries, can they survive puppet task here still in the East? I know they're up on some of those lower teams, but can this team still be solid and scare some teams come playoff?
I think so. They have a ton of experience behind those 3 guys. The problem is it's difficult to know how to feel about this team. Coming into this year, the most experienced team, but so many ifs, and now those ifs have come back. But I still think, with Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler, they could be out 3 to 4 weeks, and then they can sort of get back into things. I think Jimmy Butler's legs will be quite happy because he leads the league in minutes played.
That's true.
Yeah.
And legs. Oh, man, legs sound really good right about now. I wish I had a couple of those. I think the Bulls will fight through it.
I'm sure the Bulls will fight through it, and they always seem to rally whenever somebody goes down because they're kind of used to doing this by now, but it puts them in a tough spot. The timing of it, if Rose and Jimmy Butler come back when they're supposed to, they're going to have 3 to 4 games before the playoffs start to kind of reintegrate 2 humongous pieces of their team going into the playoffs. I don't know, it's just the worst timing possible.
It is, but it tends to happen a lot with this Chicago Bulls team.
Yeah.
And then I know this one seems like a big fluke, sort of colliding into a guy
Look gross.
and hurting the elbow. But you do have to ask the question about Thibodeau and all the minutes he puts on these guys through a regular season time and time again. Is he a part of the problem here, of these guys sort of wearing down as the season goes on?
Well, they always seem to kind of fall apart in the playoffs, the Bulls do, and that I think is more on Thibodeau's minutes than a Jimmy Butler freak sort of injury. Rose's knee just keeps popping up. But I mean, the problem with Thibodeau's minutes to me is that he doesn't take a chance to develop the young players. The young players tend to play pretty well when they finally get a chance. Tony Snell has been on fire, but he didn't really get to play until the injuries. Jimmy Butler was a good player when he's a rookie, didn't really take off until Rose was hurt again. I don't know. He just needs to take a chance earlier on him, so he's not putting huge minutes on these guys.
One thing to watch in the Eastern Conference, now with the injuries to the Bulls, the Cavs on the rise, is whether or not, especially the Bulls and the Wizards, if they want the 5th seed, let's say more than the 3rd seed. Because I believe the Cavs will be eventually the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
No one's catching the Hawks. So you've got Cleveland at 2. You don't want to be that 3rd seed in a second round possible matchup there, I would assume, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It might be more beneficial to be the 4th or 5th seed.
Yeah.
The Raps will probably get 4th because they'll win their division. They may not have home court advantage, but they'll be the 4th seed.
But these teams are just trying to get right, Skeets.
Yeah.
They're not worried about playoff seeding at this point. And even the Cleveland Cavaliers, who you mentioned, after their biggest win against the Golden State Warriors, LeBron goes and sits and rests and relax because they're just trying to get right for the playoffs. It's not about seeding at this point. It's about getting it right.
Why are you dressed, by the way, like you're
Like
going
that.
to Hawaii? Yeah, or like Tass, yeah. That's curious.
It's quite cool in this shirt.
Okay, excellent. A little more news from last night. We had the Dragon revenge game. Dragic in very limited minutes playing his old team, the Phoenix Suns. He scored 21 points in just under 15 minutes. Again, he got in foul trouble, but the Heat ran away with this one, 115-98. This game, if you caught it, was wild.
Yeah, I was surprised just how hostile it was between Dragic and his former teammates because I thought his beef really was with the management. And I thought
It
that
carried over onto the floor.
Yeah, I thought he was good sort of friends with Bledsoe and Markieff Morris and those guys, but there definitely seemed to be a lot of guys just going at each other.
Well, he said he only played. He wouldn't have played in this game if it was any other team in the league, but he's had some back spasms. He said, I want to play against this team. I want to get the win. He called it one of his best wins of his career, I heard him say on Sirius Radio. Here you see all the altercations, though. You had Markieff Morris taking out Dragic on the fast break. Later in the game, we had Hassan Whiteside and Alex Len. A couple judo
Couple of
chops,
times, yeah.
a couple throws here, then a tackle by Whiteside.
tour.
Markieff Morris, by the way, he got ejected
Yep.
for the breakaway sort of hit. Those two got ejected. And then we had also Henry, don't call me Billy Walker, also picking up a flagrant one. So, yeah, it went back and forth. This game took forever. It was only like a 3-hour game when it was all said and done. But
And as
again,
you mentioned, Dragic played 15 minutes of all that. Like, imagine
Exactly.
he played the whole game.
I know.
I'd still be going.
A very strange game. And
I would have loved to have been involved in that.
we're waiting to find
I've
out.
taken MMA.
We're,
Judo
Are those
chop.
punches?
I actually forgot
chop.
Tass wasn't sitting there.
Ah!
It's just-
Ah! My hand smells.
Let's take a break. Let's please take a break. Though this will be weird, I'll debate a puppet in Crossfire when we come back. You're watching The Starters.
Welcome to Crossfire. This is how it works. Trey will give Skeets and I 3 topics. We'll debate each one, and I'm gonna bang this a lot. Trey, what's the first topic, please?
First question. After a thrilling last-second victory, the Brooklyn Nets are currently in 8th place in the Eastern Conference. But with 3 teams within a game and a half of their last playoff spot, will the Nets make the playoffs?
Oh, the Brooklyn Nets have come together. They were just on an 8-game road trip, which overlapped the All-Star weekend. And don't underestimate, these old guys know when to come to play. This is the playoffs, baby. And since Thaddeus Young's acquisition, they have got a great rotation. Listen to it. They're starting with Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Mason Plumlee, Allen Anderson shooting, Markel Brown at the athletic wing position. Then they've got Brook Lopez, Thaddeus Young, Jared Jack, and Bojan Bogdanovic off the bench. They've got most home games of anyone in the race, 15 versus 9 road games. They're making it, baby.
Oh my. Hold on. Ask Puppet Test, do you want the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs?
Yes, they won a playoff series last year.
Who
They
wants
have
them?
got
Come on.
playoff savvy.
It's going to take 38 wins to likely get in the East. Yes, that is it. And I think it's more likely that 2 of these teams, the Pacers, Heat, Celtics, or Pistons, get ahead of those Brooklyn Nets. They actually have an easier schedule in terms of strength of schedule. Yes, you said the Nets have
the
the
home games.
It doesn't matter who they're playing at home, they'll lose. You can also get into tiebreakers. The Heat have beat them 3 times. The Pacers already beat them. They got 2 left. And the Celtics have the tiebreaker. So even if they tie them, they're not
I can clap my
getting in.
hands too,
They're not even
just
getting
like
in.
you. They've got 15 home games left, Skeet.
Trey, next
Do
question.
Some math.
This pup is drunk.
According to his agent, Greg Monroe remains open to re-signing with the Pistons this summer. So tell me, should Greg Monroe re-sign with the Pistons?
Oh, come on, Greggy. They can pay you the most money. If I could put up my other hand, I would make it rain. We'll have so much money, Greg. We need to spend it together. You've got a guy that appreciates you in Stan Van Gundy. He loves you. And this way in Detroit, you can play with a legitimate defensive center. Listen, Greggy, I love you, but you're not great in the defensive department. That's where Andre Drummond comes in. You can just concentrate on scoring. What you are so good at, Greg. Stay in Detroit. You don't know how good you have it until it's gone.
Puppet Task. Look, players that sign the qualifying offer, like Monroe did in the summer, almost never stick with their team. The only one I can think of was Spencer Hawes with the Sixers. He is going. The most wins this guy has had with the Pistons in his 5 years is 30 in his rookie season. 30 wins. The guy wants to see some W's. Yes, the Pistons are slowly getting better, but it's not like they're going to be contending for a title by any means. He could have his pick of the litter. Yes, he'll get a little bit less money, but he may want to win some basketball games. Greg Monroe is gone. He's gone.
Oh, excuse me. You put me to sleep with that argument. Trey,
Final
what's
one.
topic 3?
Final question. Future Sharknado 3 president Mark Cuban wants the NBA season to extend into July. Is he right? Should the season extend into July?
No, he's wrong. That is the wrong way to go. I'm fine with extending the season, but let's do what Silver has talked about, and that is get rid of half of the preseason games, start the season earlier so we can get rid of some of the back-to-back and the scheduling problems, but do not go into July. If you want to kill your ratings, yeah, then put games on in July when no one wants to be inside and watch sporting events. I hate this idea. Go the other way. Go to October.
This is a great idea. Marky, QB, baby, I love this idea. I'm a workaholic just like yourself, Mark. I need to work all year round. In July, they tried to put me in a box and put me away for the offseason. I don't want that. I want the best product possible for NBA players. We want to get rid of those back-to-backs, the 4 and 5. Let's all hang out in July at Summer League. It'll be a great time.
What about international basketball?
What about international
What happens?
basketball?
Now we're getting awful close. When that happens, your FIBAs, your Olympics, what about that? No, you do not want to go that way. Cuban's right. Extend the season. Just go what Silver has already said and get rid of the preseason
Marky
games.
knows what's
No
up.
one cares.
He's a billionaire.
But I do want to see you put away in a box. Trey, who won this thing?
Today's winner is Skeets because Puppet Task doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Oh, yes! I beat a puppet. All right, quick break. When we come back, thumbs up or thumbs down on James Harden's suspension. It was a surprise to some of us. We'll debate that and more when we return.
I wish I could kick someone in the testicles.
Back with the starters, if you're just joining us, Task co-hosting today's show as a puppet because he lost February's pick and payoff contest. Yeah, getting makeup before the show and everything. Sneezed a little bit, but now we're into the up-down report where we figure out where the 4 of us stand three of us today, stand on some hot button NBA topics. A lot of legs jokes here with the puppet. First one, guys, and play along. Are you up or down? Hashtag the starters on Twitter. First one. The NBA announced on Monday that James Harden has been suspended 1 game without pay for kicking LeBron there in the groin on Sunday in the Rockets' overtime win. Three of us down on this. Trey, the only one up. We'll come to you in a second. Lee, why don't you start? Were you surprised like I was with the punishment here for James Harden?
I was, because I thought the officials got it right during the game. I thought that what James Harden did wasn't malicious, it was reactionary. They gave him a flagrant foul, and I felt that this game was a very tight game and it was decided by the players. Can you imagine the outcry if James Harden was ejected and the Cavaliers go on to win the game?
Can you imagine?
People would be just saying, typical, LeBron gets all the calls. I really think that what happened, the league should have backed the referees on this one and said, you made the right call.
Right.
I don't care how gentle it is. You can't tow a bro down below. It's that easy. Every other situation where somebody's gotten hit below the belt, they've been suspended for a game. This is crazy. He kicks him in the Hibbert.
But he
I
doesn't.
mean,
Yes, he does.
Kicked him.
Look
He
at
barely
LeBron's
kicked him.
face.
Look at
He
LeBron.
goes
He flopped.
reeling.
He flopped like crazy. Give me a break.
Oh, come on.
Come
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
a 8 feet.
If anybody wants to reenact this, let's try it.
I'm going to reenact it right now. It's a natural reaction when you lie down. Please pretend that I have legs in this instance.
Okay.
Okay.
That your legs would just come up. They just naturally came up,
Yeah.
just
And
like that,
extend.
and they happened to hit LeBron
Yep.
below
And
the
LeBron,
belt.
yeah.
I
They
agree with the
It was a
puppet.
light tap. It
Yeah.
was a love tap below the belt.
And look, we may not even be having this conversation if it wasn't LeBron James.
Oh, come on.
You don't think so?
This is crazy to me. He puts his foot on his groin and pushes it.
The better
but
kick
it's-
was
And
John.
LeBron backs up 10 feet.
And LeBron,
And yes, because he was kicked.
yeah, but I think it was more just that area is very sensitive to most gentlemen. And LeBron was a bit worried, so he backed up. But he
better-
wasn't rolling around in pain afterwards. I think it was just an unfortunate contact from James
I think
Harden.
LeBron is
Certainly not
smart, is
deliberate.
trying to sell it and trying to get the
Yeah,
call.
not-
And then he
not
went and
deliberate.
missed free throws.
I think the better kick was John Stewart yesterday during WWE
Okay.
Raw.
All right,
below
next
the
one.
belt.
Next
Bingo.
one. Next one. All right, up or down on Doc Rivers saying DeAndre Jordan is clearly the defensive player of the year. So, are you up or down really on Doc boosting DeAndre's confidence? I am the only one down on this. All three of you up.
I wouldn't go that far that he is a lock, but he's been very, very good. He's second in the league in defensive impact, second in blocks, and he also has that very good category that you can't quantify, that intimidation statistic. We've seen a lot more of that from him this year.
Another thing you can quantify, he grabs so many defensive rebounds, and people undervalue that. Defense
Yeah.
isn't over until you have the ball back.
Exactly, and that's what Doc Rivers stresses all the time. He has really gotten a lot out of DeAndre Jordan since he's come along.
sure.
He's improved so much. The Clippers, we know, are a very good offensive team. They need him so much for their defense, or else they get killed.
Doc Rivers, yeah, they get killed. They're an average defense as it is, by the way. Doc Rivers says,
true.
if anybody else gets that award, we need to have an investigation. Doc, slow down. I know you love DeAndre, and I know what you're trying to do with him. He's compared him to Bill Russell. He's compared him to Dennis Rodman, said he should have been an all-star. Relax with this.
He just wants serial
Relax.
season 2 as
He's
much
just
as the
going
rest of us.
overboard.
Yeah, he always goes for his players like that, which is
Yeah, but
that's Doc's thing.
why should he stop? Since Doc's arrival in
ridiculous.
LA and providing that constant support, DeAndre Jordan has become the player that he is today. I would not give DeAndre Jordan the Defensive Player of
Right.
the Year award because he's a mediocre defense, and I find it a little counterintuitive to do that because he isn't part of one of the better defenses in the league.
That's true. Fun to rub
But,
it.
yeah,
But I love
it-
you. I love Doc's support for DeAndre.
But
Prior
the-
to him getting there, he wasn't who he is.
Okay.
Defensive player, though, is an interesting one because if you're going to put on his own team's defense, then it's like Anthony Davis in New Orleans. They're not a great defensive team, but you wouldn't say he's not a brilliant defensive player.
Well,
So-
part of it is yapping, and part of it is communicating with his team.
Yeah.
Lee, it's
Yeah.
not just about individual performance.
Well, it is for Defensive Player of the Year, though.
No, but it has to do with your team performance.
It hasn't over the last couple of years,
yeah.
Lee. That's where it's going. Your Tyson Chandlers, your Marcus Sauls, your Joakim Noahs.
It's about a team.
Yeah.
He's the top 3 guy right now, I would say, for defensive
To me,
player.
we weren't even arguing about whether he actually is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. We're arguing about Doc boosting up his
And you know
confidence.
Doc's got his back. That's
He's got
cool.
his back. Let's hear what people think. Next one here, guys. Markieff Morris with the Suns recently calling out the Suns fans for giving him and his team, of course, no home court advantage. They got killed the other day at home. Morris said, I don't think we have a home court advantage. It does not feel like a home court advantage at all. A couple downs in this scenario. Tass, you're the only one up.
Listen, I feel like you could have been a little nicer, but I watched this game. I watched it, and I found it. I ate a lot of chips while I was watching it. Is this going near my mouth? I can't really tell. And I feel like San Antonio definitely had more fans there. He was right. They need more fans to be supportive. He
What about the
wasn't
fans
making
there?
some.
What about the fans
He
there?
They
should be
weren't
thanking
loud. There
those
were more
fans.
Spurs fans than there were Suns
They were
fans.
getting crushed by 30.
Yeah,
It's
you-
No,
tough
they
to get
weren't.
into the game.
They
The
were.
Suns
They were
fan is not
non-existent.
making excuses.
Yeah.
It's been Isaiah Thomas's fault, Goran Dragic's fault, the ref's fault, the fans' fault. Maybe it's the Suns' fault.
I'm with you on that. Let's hear what people think. Up or down on all three of those. Jump on Twitter, hashtag starters. Let's unleash the unicorn. Get out here, unicorn. Starters Fantasy Minute. Lee, now that Brian Shaw has been relieved of his duties there in Denver, could the Manimal be unleashed?
He has to.
Really?
He has to right now. Melvin hopefully will just say, Kenneth, go out there and do whatever the hell you want to do. Because, look, his numbers haven't been drastically different from last year, but we all know that we were expecting a big bump in him, given what we saw in the summer for Team USA. So hopefully now in these last 20-odd games, whatever they've got left for Denver Nuggets, Kenneth Faried is free to go and show what he can really do, because he has had a disastrous season.
Over
from
his last
fantasy
6
value.
games?
Yeah.
Look at those numbers over his last 6 games. I thought that was a typo when we were putting that in there.
And he's
5
coming
points
off the
per game.
bench.
Yeah, 22 minutes. I mean, he's not getting any burn. You would hope with Melvin Henry there as the interim head coach that he'd get more minutes, get more chance to be a little bit like Fareed.
Just
Maybe they
free.
play a little more up and down.
Yeah, a little revenge game even.
Yeah, very possible. All right, final break. When we return, one more, or a couple more minutes at least with the puppet. Pick 'em payoff results and Lee's 2 thumbs. Come on back. Back with the starters. Time to start a new month of the pick 'em payoff battle here into March. We made our picks last night. We actually agreed on all 5 games. We went 3-2, so a solid start, I guess. We agree on 4 games tonight as well. Hornets, Hawks, Wizards, and Nuggets. The game we disagree on, I'll take the Kings on the road. Puppet Tass likes the New York Knicks.
Why not?
You feeling all right? Let's get to the very
The Kings
solid,
aren't feeling all right. Injuries, my friend.
very solid play of the night.
Okay, now stay with me on this one because it's a long one. And it's got a new category for you too. It's called a double ender. The Golden State Warriors, look at these defensive plays here. Stop after stop after stop.
You're a crazy
And this is how you turn defense into offense. You get the ball down the other end, give it to your best shooter, and he
swish
makes a
bomb.
swish bomb. And that's what I call a very solid play.
A double ender.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
What a way to end a wild show. Let's give it up for Puppet
Hilarious.
Tass.
Well done.
Good job there, Puppet Tass.
Can you give me some water, Lee? I'm quite
Here
thirsty.
you go, buddy.
We'll be back with normal Tass on tomorrow's show. Join us then at 6:30.
That's a
Fan
good
night
vodka.
is the Rockets and Hawks. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. on NBA TV. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for joining us, folks. And remember, if you ventriloquist my arm, I'll do this again tomorrow.
Brace the night, people. Oh.
See you later. Bye-bye.